Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Two Existential Dudes podcast. It has been a while, and as you can see, this is our episode 22. There was an episode 21, but it is currently lost in the ether somewhere in YouTube, yet to be reinstated.
Hopefully it shows up again.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So, would you care to introduce our topic, Andrew?
So today we have a very ambiguous and very broad question to lead with. Simply the motive of friendship. So first of all, how do we want to define friendship? And I have some stages here, of course, because I always have stages. I have stages.
Are they similar to your dating stages?
Yes.
We need to refine. We need to refine that system.
That we made
because I find myself referencing it to other people, despite them probably not knowing what I'm talking about.
Why would you reference that to other people? One, it wasn't your thing, and two, we made it up on the spot. Luke. Anyways, I'll lead with it. So
yeah,
I found friendship to be simply an increased state of affection beyond strangers. And much like how we described the dating process, each stage of friendship is an increasing level of intimacy.
Yes.
So the examples I had here, in the order, at least in terms, was stranger, peer, acquaintance, a work or school friend, a close friend, an intimate friend, and then into the dating stages.
Let me just look at that really quick. So that stranger, peer, acquaintance. Okay, let's start with those first few.
Okay.
Stranger is someone you've never met.
Someone strange.
Well, I'm friends with you, so that doesn't work, does it?
Strange and unknown. We'll go with that.
Okay.
You and I are strange but known. Unbeknownst to you, but beknownst to us.
So that one's pretty self-explanatory. Peer, is this someone that exists somewhere in your life, but you don't interact with them?
Yes.
Okay.
So typically peer is used in the context of education.
Yeah.
Most often your classmates or your classmates as like year of this graduating class, that kind of a class. I've also seen it used as like your work peers or even just your age or social grouping peers. I take this here to think of it as meeting someone through school, because that's a very common thing, or meeting someone through work, also extremely common.
Mm-hmm.
So peer in this instance particularly means someone you might know, but at the very least goes to the same school, goes to the same work as you, and is in the same world as you. For example, there's many students at the school we go to. I would not call them friends or even acquaintances, but I would call them all my peers.
Okay.
Because they're at the same level as myself.
And then where do we go with acquaintance?
Acquaintance is when you begin to know them. So, and each stage kind of takes the next stage to define it in a way.
Okay.
So if we skip one further, you have work and school friends. So this is someone that you're friends with at work or school. You don't necessarily even talk to them outside of school or work. And you basically spend the time with them at that place. It doesn't mean you're not good friends with them or you can have an incredibly intimate relationship. It just means that you don't take it beyond the location and the circumstances, more importantly.
Would this one would work or school friend or acquaintance, would one of those fall under friends of necessity? Like,
yes.
You're only friends because you kind of have to be in that situation.
Yeah, and you're getting ahead of me, but this is the idea of mere exposure and just friends out of coincidence or circumstance. You happen to be friend there, so you happen to be friends. This is the best example of one of the reasons why band kids seem to have so many friends, because they spend so much time with so many people. So even if they don't like all those people, they're kind of forced to be friends with them, at least on a school level.
Or knowing a lot about them.
Mm-hmm. And then to take that step back, an acquaintance is someone that you know, you're okay with, and you know past the level of peer, but you're not full friends with them at a level that you enjoy necessarily spending time with them.
So friend in our model starts at work/school friend.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
depending on how
this could also be extended to activities like band or something.
Absolutely.
Sports team. That's an interesting thing. That would be in this too, where it's like a bunch of people working towards a common goal.
Mm-hmm.
Shared trauma.
You're getting. Stop looking at my notes. You're getting mad at me.
I didn't even see that on the paper.
It may or may not be the last thing I wrote on this. But yeah, and you can see even right in those first 3 stages, it's a discussion of increasing intimacy. You don't know them, then you know them about them. You know a little about them, and then you enjoy your company with them and might share some stuff with them. Then you get into close friend, which is someone most obviously signified by spending time outside of the circumstances you met them in typically. And then obviously you get into intimate friend, where it just grows and grows. You could even argue that's the work school friend is level 3 of our system, or at least my system, the getting to know them. You could argue it's that.
Your dating system?
Yes.
What was 3?
Getting to know them. You could argue.
Are you sure about that?
You could argue that. It might be a bit of a stretch.
No. Are you sure that was what that was?
Look, you think I had it refined in my mind?
Like scroll.
There it is. Oh wow, getting to know them's 1. Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew. I was gonna say level 3.
It's been a long day for Andrew. Anyways, but that's the idea here, is you could align that if you really wanted to. Perhaps even the last few are the same things with different names.
So then, close friends is characterized. I'm trying to have very strict definitions for these. Close friends is defined by intentionally spending time with them.
Yes.
Okay.
As opposed to the coincidental time of work or school.
Okay. Then, I'm assuming the next level, intimate friends, suggests some sort of sharing of
intimate concerns,
intimate conversation, something like that.
There's a really great example here that I just don't have for you today. That is in regards to one of the levels that establishes like a genuine relationship or a loving romantic relationship is for it's intimacy, and it's operantly defined as sharing like the innermost thoughts. It's that kind of thing.
Okay.
It's that definition's kind of a combination of private thoughts and security. I'm not a huge fan of it because it's a little broad, but it works for that context.
And then you didn't mention this, but I see the next thing you wrote is lover.
And then promptly I wrote consummate underneath it.
Okay.
Yes, I wrote that. I was like, I should change that.
Oh, wait.
Yes, because that
comes with more than one.
Because truthfully, lover could apply to every single category on this list.
We need to do. Of course, we've already done love. We need to do like a Valentine's Day special or something about what love actually is.
So here's what we're going to do. On Valentine's Day, when all these couples are happily listening to our podcast together, doubling our numbers, we're going to tell them that their love is invalid and false. Great idea, Luke. Great promotional idea.
Who actually listens? Like, forget couples. Who actually listens?
Together. I've never. Apparently a lot of parents do, but I think that sounds like shared trauma to the children.
They listen to this?
No, other ones.
Oh.
You think? No. How popular do you think we are, Luke? I think that's going to be one of our quotes. Your love
is invalid.
Is invalid.
Just to take a quick tangent here, I had a realization a few weeks ago or yesterday, I don't remember which.
It's the same now times.
Mm-hmm. I thought I was thinking about words that are oft misused, and
Passionate.
well, yes, but I thought that love is the most widely used word in the English language that no one knows the true definition of. And if you think about it, even in our love language video, we defined types of love, but we didn't define what the term love actually means. We just kind of broke it up.
Yes, because, and even in that episode, you looked up what love was and found like 10 definitions because it's one of those words that's become so ambiguous with time and through extensive use of metaphors and just various literary devices has widened its meaning. Because you can love a wife, you can love an object, you can love a thing, an activity, but you can also love bad things.
We should probably get into this some other time, but I've been doing a little research into what the term love has historically meant and like its linguistic origins, and we can, that's for another episode.
Well, you want to do that for Valentine's Day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll wear pink shirts, come in here with some chocolates, and talk about our love.
But I'm really excited about that one though, because I've realized that no one really knows what that word means, especially how it was originally used.
And then you attach that to words like passionate, and it's meaningless.
Passionate love.
Right, because by some accounts, passionate love would mean sexual love, but by other accounts, passionate love is a cognitive idea. That's what I hate about it. I can't use it that way because it comes across inappropriate. That's why passionate is terrible, people. Don't use it. Luke is looking up.
Continue.
That was all I had.
You have more written.
Well, I'm not going to talk to someone who's researching during the podcast.
All right.
I know it's a good topic, but we must...
I'm present.
We must remain somewhat on topic today. All right. The meat of this episode. Negative friendships.
Oh, yes. Now you're speaking about something that
I love the moment of pause where it clicked and then the yes. As it all flew in. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I almost put it in the description, but I didn't. I wanted to define good friendships as friendships and maybe define bad friendships as at least a certain type of bad friendship as like buddies or pals, something like that. And I wanted to draw the distinction that friends want what's best for you. Like they want good things for you, whereas friends or buddies are just people that enjoy being around you, or you enjoy being around, regardless of what it actually does for you or them.
Okay, so what you're arguing here is the difference between the colloquial friend of a buddy, someone you just perhaps enjoy spending time with and do fun things with, compared to a genuine, perhaps higher level friendship, which is a discussion much like with respect of pursuing capacity.
Yes, possible.
Okay, so all right, so then we'll establish that here. Buddies, we'll go with that. Is simply pleasurable interactions with people around you. That I guess you could call a work or a school friend, perhaps, maybe. That might be a little too much.
Maybe.
But a friendship is a discussion of transcendence.
Yes.
I just want to use
the word. Okay, so where are we going with that? I brought it up, but now you have to take it somewhere.
Thanks. Well, I like that you discussed that a good friendship is one of improvement and collaboration. Because the very first thing I wrote under my category of negative friendships was deconstructive. Not necessarily, I just want to say destructive, which is exactly the same thing as deconstructive. Good job, Andrew. These are relationships that aren't necessarily like harmful in physicality, which they can be, and that's a very common issue with them. But they are detrimental to character.
Yeah,
is the greater part, because you can have a buddy situation that is deconstructive to your character. This is the same thing as thinking you're in a good group and not like getting harmed or anything by them, or like doing drugs or anything obviously dangerous or unsafe, but being with this group and perhaps learning their ideas challenges your predispositions to do good. Dang it, morality. How do we... Dang it! It was my fault this time.
I had something really good, I promise, but then you kept talking.
It's usually how it goes. You just get me talking about myself and I just go.
I'm telling you, during these conversations we have both on air and off, half of our brain capacity is trying to keep something in our mind that we want to say, and the other half is trying to listen to the other person, so it just...
And come up with a cognate argument.
Yeah, it never works out the way we want it to.
I think the best is when we go for like 2 hours, and then usually you bring something from like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Promptly with new evidence. I'm like, I have no idea what we were talking about, man. So much has happened. Okay.
We were talking about buddies being potentially destructive to character.
And the best example of the way this happens, I found the immediate example I could think of, which is a fallacy, but don't worry about it, was that as soon as it is an us versus them situation, that's an issue. Because one, a group should not form out of basically what's a hate group, of forming to be against an individual or a group or an idea, but should form out of commonality and the friendship attributes we discussed earlier.
So, I don't think you're saying that you should only be friends with people that are like you? Or...
Allow me to clarify. A constructive friendship comes out of what did I write here? Like the social needs we've discussed before, tribalistic security, shared trauma, but more importantly, curiosity and interest. Because we've discussed it before, particularly with the love languages, you can have stark differences in things, and those can not only work, but honestly make some relationships greater than they could be through education. This is why, to quote every episode here, we've talked before with tribalism, a group that thinks as one group and has no outside interaction can only create the most extreme idea of what they think they believe and construct a totem of the enemy, in italics, which is extremely dangerous. And while that's a great example, I'm going really off, this is fun. That's a great example here of the difference between friendships and buddies, because a friendship would be one of collaboration, finding what is the best answer to a solution, while buddies might just be coming together because we agree on this solution. And that can be good things and accurate information, but that can also be stringent politics and dangerous ideas, social ideas that are frowned upon today, that kind of idea. And what do those have in common? Us versus them, every time. And they're destructive to the character of every individual in said group, thus they're negative friendships.
This is interesting. You're taking it in the tribalism direction.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Not sure where to go from that. I didn't consider tribalism at all.
My discussion is based largely on tribalism and self-actualization slash transcendence.
Okay. So, I guess I'll start over with a question. Do you have to choose your friends, or should you just try and make the most of those people that you coincidentally end up with? Like you alluded to the mere exposure effect earlier, meaning that you are naturally just drawn to the people that you're around the most. Do you have to fight against that, or is it okay to just hang out with those people and try and build something from that?
In an ideal world, the discovery of new people should be an inactive process, while the development of friendship should be an active process. For example, um, the beginning of our personal friendship here really began our sophomore year when we sat directly next to each other in our band class.
Mm-hmm.
That was a situation of coincidence and consequence. There's some fun additional stories to that, but for another time, for a special episode. All the shared trauma in that year. But that could have simply become a business relationship, just friends at school, going to work. But the shared trauma placed upon us that year, the increased exposure to us, those are both inactive events to some degree that grew our interaction. But we also met as friends additionally, and as the years have progressed, we have gone through these levels I prescribed earlier to the point that now we see each other outside of school, evidently, and do other things.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, it's an active process, while the beginning of it ideally should be inactive, that you don't have to go searching for friends, because I feel to search for friends requires that you make incomplete judgments of other people.
Yeah.
Which I feel is unfair.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you can never make a complete judgment of anyone, because you can never be them or God. But such a blunt argument might be risky. That was a really good question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love being
I always
interviewed.
like letting you talk about yourself.
Hey, I talked about us today.
Oh. So another question here. If you reach what you called intimate friends with someone, obviously these other levels can be rather temporary, but is intimate friends to say that that will be a lasting friendship necessarily?
Yes, intimate friends by all means. In the same way that I had in hesitation and the other one, intimate friends can be the last step if you never decide to take a romantic step with that individual. In effect, an intimate friend is just a lifelong friend
Mm-hmm.
that you share that in hesitation with and the compassion, and you're effectively a spouse at that, if you can take it for a very long time, in all except romanticism and an extra level of intimacy, of course, and the process.
Because I asked that question because a lot of, especially people our age, seem to think it's inevitable that you will lose friends. Like, that you won't know anyone that you know now. You won't be friends with them a few years down the line. And is that just a matter of, like, people go their separate ways, or is it because most people don't form close friendships?
It's the latter.
Okay.
Because you can have friends. The best example is friends made in college. For example, my brother, he met a number of individuals while studying in Cincinnati. He now lives in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
and his best friend lives in Florida.
Wow.
And they're still great friends. I'd argue close, if not intimate, already. in fact, they lived with each other for a year or two. But the difference there, and this might be something that just requires age to some degree, and we can argue that as well, is those relationships developed were inactive initially, that they happened to be taking theory classes together, and then actively pursued more time together and hung out and went and did things, and the shared trauma of concerts and final exams, that kind of thing, all working together to increase the intimacy of their friendship. Thus, that relationship can live much longer than any other. However, and the reason you were keen to point it out as the second part of your question, the reason so many people feel that friendship destruction is inevitable is because the vast majority of friends you make at this stage, particularly, are merely acquaintance and school friends, which rarely go past that. And if they do, it's because they're becoming close friends.
I hear a lot of people talk about, and obviously you see people leave and go off to college, and then their group of friends completely changes, and people talk about going off to college and almost for the purposes, a secondary purpose of gaining friends. I guess it kind of bothers me, because if you weren't able to make meaningful friendships here, what makes you think you can do it there?
Exactly.
And there is something to be said about you're on your own, so you're spending more time, mere exposure.
Right. But even still, mere exposure itself only can create work friendships. Maybe a close friendship, but nothing of lasting strength, because lasting strength comes from intimacy beyond the shared commonality. And quite simply, friendships require maintenance. And the reason I tried to make a discrepancy before is to say that these things will happen inevitably, and like you said, you'll see more people in college because you're independent, you're forced to be exposed to these people, but you cannot expect close friendships if you don't actively work on them. Not search, but work.
Yeah. To tie it into dating too, that seems to be what a lot of people think as well. Like, I'm going to find someone. Right. I'm not going to build a relationship. I'm going to find a relationship.
Which is why the vast majority of marriages are typically hollow and often end in divorce.
Like, I will meet someone that will, and we will already be on that final stage, and very little work will be necessary outside of.
I think this actually clarifies one of the questions I failed to articulate on that dating episode. You had asked if my stages leading up to proposal, as it is, are active, and I struggle with my response, and I think I see now that it's the same situation, that initially it is coincidental and inactive, and you simply meet those people, but as that relationship grows through exposure, it has to become active. Otherwise, you'll never get past the lower stages and never have a fulfilling relationship, which is what we all want.
I think that's a good theme for the episode. Don't search.
Work.
Yeah.
I love your poetry, Luke.
You
don't search. Work. Next laureate here.
Could you also apply that? I'm really stretching here now. Could you also apply that to, like, opportunities, like professional opportunities? Like, people go searching for things rather than.
Yes. The window of it happening by luck is much smaller, and it's very heavily on your account. But particularly in the arts industry, and I'm not as well known in the other industries, but in particularly the arts industry and the freelance industry and a lot of those, it is the case where many jobs are, I know their name, so I'll hire them. So you can't go find that per se unless it's a competition of some sort or that you can apply for. But you have to have already built a character that precedes yourself.
Yeah, that's what I
so that
was
they can
getting
discover
at.
you, and then you can chase that to confirm their analysis.
Isn't this great? I just have to have like less than half of an idea, and then he just finishes it.
There's you. Oh yes, that is exactly what I was going with, not knowing where he was going with it.
At the end of every sentence that I start and he finishes, I'm just yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You knew that. Maybe that's why we're so in tune sometimes, because
you don't actually provide anything.
One of us just fakes that we were thinking that the whole time.
One of us is just providing like extremely general Barnum questions, and then the other fills it in because it's so general. Do you find yourself at any point in your life feeling emotional?
Psychic.
Yes. Yes. You must be a Leo. Should we dare to do signs?
What?
Should we dare do signs at some point?
What sign?
Star signs.
Like the astrology stuff?
Mm-hmm. There's some really fun parts of that.
I don't even understand it.
I don't. Okay. To take a tangent, I understand it, but I think it's stupid.
I mean, I always thought that everyone who did that was just like, oh, it's kind of fun. But is that how most people do it, or are they really like,
there is a percentage.
I'm going to have bad luck today?
There's a percentage of individuals who make decisions upon it, financial decisions, and rely on those things, even though in every single study, as soon as the name is taken away from the characteristics, they can never identify which one they're supposed to be. Because they're Barnum questions and are intentionally vague, so they always fit everyone.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, yes, I felt emotional sometime this year.
I value self-preservation.
You are likely to make friends. Yeah.
You're a good person. Well, who doesn't think that?
Right. There's a whole science to it. A science of conning.
What's the one where it's you play both sides? Like, you're very ambitious, but sometimes you struggle. Sometimes you struggle to
just take both sides of it, so you can't be wrong. Now that we've taken that tangent.
You are not a serial killer.
Yeah, I'd love to take one of those tests and it just produce the answer, you will kill 3 people this afternoon. Like, if I'm going to follow a star sign, it's going to be something, like, incredibly specific. So much so that, like, I think, gosh, should I be worried if I don't do exactly what this says? Or at that point, is it blackmail? Can you control people's actions through star signs? Is the next step to authoritarian control to convince the public to follow a set of star signs as their actions by providing instances where individuals don't and then die or get less fortunate?
Here's a question.
I have a book to
Here's
write.
a question. If we had a method of determining who was more genetically predestined to commit crimes, would it be okay to just get rid of them before they committed the crime? If I knew, this is the same kind of question, is it okay to kill baby Hitler?
Right, I was going to say, thank you for dropping that question. It was like actually the exact, God, it's cases like this where I know it's not just one of us filling it in, sometimes. They're very rare. The only issue here is with the Hitler situation, you know what he'll do, as opposed to simply knowing they're predispositioned. Wow, Andrew. predisposition.
Mm-hmm.
You know the word.
Yeah.
The choice of predestined, and thus it's, you know for a fact this will happen, as opposed to they're more likely to, does raise the question. Because there have been a number of studies where they ran tests of psychoanalysis and found like this person is more likely to commit a murder, or you can argue that extroverts are more likely to commit murders because they appreciate stimulation, which is in some ways a valid argument.
Wait, they are? But what about all the memes about the quiet kid who whispers something in class? Me picks up the pencil for the quiet kid. Don't go to school.
Yes, I love discussing school shootings. Oh, look at us.
Quiet kid drops his headphones, pumped up kicks plays.
So, what things have we discussed today that won't be taken down by YouTube? So we've got Hitler, we've got school shootings.
Oh no, now they have an excuse maybe.
Don't worry, it'll still go down for nudity somehow. On our still image video.
Thinking, man. Maybe I should, like, next episode, I should, like, put a box over his body.
Please give him boxers. Please. I am begging you. In fact, where's my wallet? I'll pay you.
I'll get working on that next time. They can be... Why haven't we made underwear merch yet?
You can't advertise underwear. Particularly
That's what you think.
Particularly the way we describe how long it takes to get to that stage of a relationship. Like, that would be a 10-year payoff for us.
You think that would be a deal breaker?
I have so many terrible visions right now that I should not describe right now.
Sorry, I know we're married, but what are those?
Just, no, leave. I know we were married this morning, but leave. It's over.
And with that, we tie it back to friendships, right?
I think that's the most destructive derailment we've had.
Destructive derailment?
Yes.
Not constructive whatsoever.
We talked about Hitler and underwear. We were talking about friendships. Okay,
Hitler, man. He ruined eugenics for everyone.
Oh, and there's strike 3. Okay, how much longer we got left on this? Okay. Why do we make friends?
Well, I think episode 15 answers this pretty well. We crave... Actually, no. I won't cite 15. I'll cite Maslow. We do that one all the time too. Is that one?
What is the very first thing I listed under this category? 1, Maslow. 2, episode 15. I swear. Go ahead.
It can't be a coincidence.
It can't be. And then the third option there was listed as shared trauma, just so you're aware.
Which one was the social level of the pyramid? The community?
3? 2. Or no.
No, that's
safety is 2, belonging is 3.
Yes, we crave belonging. That's the
crave.
We desire.
The fact you did this massive gulp and then we crave made it a little too vulgar. Makes me happy that this video isn't a video. Yes, I would agree in many ways. Because first of all, it's simply the belongingness that you want to have, and that you could argue is the same thing as an acquaintance or a work friend. But then you get into things like self-actualization and like the aesthetic needs, and then transcendence, where it's about finding in addition to belonging in others, support from others, and then helping others
Okay.
grow themselves.
Let me amend my answer then. The short answer is community, belonging. That's not what it should be about,
Yes.
though. There we go.
Yes. Friendships are an inactive beginning where you coincidentally become close with them. But the active process is in developing that friendship to find security, encouragement, and self-actualization in one another.
Mm-hmm.
Not only in yourself, but in one another. And that's why in the negative friendships category, I wrote here the very common statement of toxic friendships, which I hate. I hate the term.
I hate the term. I hate the term.
But you know why we both hate it? Because it implies it's not your fault.
Yes.
When
yes.
it always is.
Yes.
As soon as you're in any situation where you believe it is entirely their fault, in italics, it's always more likely your fault.
Yes.
In many respects.
It's at least partially your fault, and more than likely, mostly your fault.
Right. If not on a physical, I did something wrong, and they're the ones I'm blaming for making me do it, on the psychological level of I allowed this to happen to one, them, and to myself.
Well, the fact that someone would turn around and say something like it's their fault implies that you were probably harboring some feelings like that before things went wrong.
Not to mention the fact it implies just an irregarding of responsibility,
mm-hmm.
which is crucial if you seek genuine self-actualization.
So would it be fair to state that being friends with someone for the sake of being friends is bad, for lack of a better term?
Yes and no, because on one hand, you do have to have the belonging level if you want to seek higher growth. And a common argument to people on the other side of a toxic relationship is that I didn't know going in, simply because they needed to satisfy that level before they could get to the cognitive level, which made them realize it wasn't a good friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, it wasn't a good buddy situation. Conversely, you can certainly have plenty of buddies or just people you hang out with or happen to go to school or work with. I know a number of individuals I can put into that category that I don't spend more time with, but I don't find them deconstructive to my character, so there's no reason to avoid them in any fashion. But an equally more important part here to move us forward as well is if that's the situation where they are destructive to you, more often than not, that's an opportunity for you to help them.
Yes. Okay. I spent most of my energy during that whole thing. I have this really... I have something.
Say it. Just say it.
I have something. No, I'm going to make you wait more. Make you wait longer.
God, I'm going to throw this chair at you.
Maybe the reason that so few people, especially in our generation, reach that level of friendship with people is because they don't achieve that higher, like, intimacy, or you mentioned cognitive, whatever Maslow's term is for it.
Cognitive need.
Cognitive need. They're buddies with their friends, but things like cognitive needs, mutual problem solving, emotional intimacy, they're getting all of these things from different places. So, I would like to postulate that instead of friends or a meaningful relationship, they have buddies, people they hook up with, and therapists to fill each of the three. You get what I'm saying. Yes, that triangle was kind of what I was getting at. It doesn't fit perfectly.
It fits roughly. So, for those of you that can't see, which is all of you, to take us way back to 4 episodes ago now, with the relationships triangle that has working from the top right.
I actually still have it. I can put it up.
Oh, do you still have it? I'll let him pull that up because this is really interesting, actually. Look at that Premiere editing.
Oh. Image.
There we go.
Oh, wait.
And while we take a moment for Luke to complete this, I'd like to make a thank you to our sponsors. Literally no one.
Yes.
They still provide nothing for us. They've been here as long as we've been around, but they don't provide anything at all.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. They don't have a website yet, which is both good and bad.
I mean, what would they put on it if they did?
Nothing. A white T-shirt.
Merch. Literally no one.
It's
literally nothing has merch.
They don't even have a logo we can put up for you guys. I'm sorry. Conversely, if you would like to help support us and encourage more of these episodes on a more regular basis, we have recently released Season 2 merch, which has our set of Season 2 questions, Season 2 quotes that I will promptly look up for you. You can get this shirt in very, very many styles, and it has quotes as good as "Write that down," "Pungentism," "Shared trauma," and where was I going with this?
Also, let's stop to appreciate the fact that Andrew said very many. All right,
I'm leaving.
Don't leave. We were just getting somewhere. I pulled up the triangle. They can see it now.
So, the cross lines don't really matter here, but the points are what we want to look at. So at the top you have liking, and I guess you could put buddies there, because it's merely the intimacy of being around them.
Yeah, this doesn't work perfectly, but at the top I kind of wanted to put like enjoying their company, like enjoying doing things with them, enjoying being around them.
Yes,
that kind of thing.
And then empty love and commitment probably would be a therapist, because you're committed to them providing you information.
Maybe we should throw out this triangle and make a different triangle.
You want to make our own
triangle?
Make
our own triangle.
Look at us actually doing things for once. Okay. Triangle. I can draw triangles. So we've got buddies, therapist, I did not spell that right, and lovers. Lovers here being the most frivolous of lovers.
Yes.
So buddies are destructive, or no, you simply like being around them.
Yes.
So that would be our belonging need.
And then the therapist fills the cognitive need, the need solving your problems, trying to achieve some sort of self-actualization,
and the need to be heard.
Yes.
More commonly, I'd argue. And then lovers is simply the hold on. Biological need?
Well,
that one doesn't fit as neatly.
We don't have to put a need to
everything must fit perfectly.
All of them. Because for a friendship you would have these two, and then for a consummate relationship you would have all three.
Yes.
So that one doesn't need to be there. I put that one in as I was talking.
Yes.
As I was
in effect,
that realization.
Having belonging and cognitive needs, or buddies and therapists respectively, you can build a friendship beyond a buddy, a work friendship, and that's typically where you begin that close relationship and become more intimate with them. And then
or you wouldn't this doesn't even have to imply sex. It can just be general physical intimacy.
Okay. So if you do lovers and buddies, that is simply a passionate love.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be Romeo and Juliet. Okay, so we'll do that. Passion. Accurately this time. And then lovers and therapist. I don't like that combination.
No.
Let's go with lovers and cognitive need. Or love need. How about we do that? Affection need?
Affection. I like affection.
Affection. Yeah. Affection and cognitive need would probably be like a parent.
Yeah.
Assuming you like love your parents or your family.
And don't enjoy being around them.
Yes. Yes. I don't. Well, okay. Well, this should be clarified. Should a parent be your friend?
Oh.
Okay, let me ask.
Why don't I get to ask the questions, then you have to answer?
I asked the questions here. Let me ask a more accurate question. At a high school level, should your parent be your friend?
I'm going to answer this rather subversively. It depends on your level of maturity.
So I'll cite an example here. My sister, she's currently a junior in college, sophomore, I don't know anymore. And I had a fun discussion with her where I asked her this question and she exhibited some really interesting points. When she was in high school, she wanted her mom to be her friend so that she could go to parties and hang out with her mom. Now she looks back on that and made it very clear to me that she should not have been. Because at that point, she needed a parent and a mother my mother in particular was the best example, to guide her and teach her and make her upset in some cases and give her rules. Conversely, now that she's into college and doing more adult things and more mature and independent, she's, particularly this summer, made it clear that they are much closer friends now. Not so much that my mother is an authority figure, as much as she is someone she trusts dearly.
I would say a parent's primary job, especially in those high school years, should be the cognitive need. And it should probably, when you're growing up, it should be more of an affectionate, like, taking care of you, essentially. That could fit under the category of affection.
Yes, parents.
And then as you're growing up, as you're becoming an adult, it should be more of the cognitive need. And I guess this can all add on top of each other. And then as you get older, as you're basically on the same, you're both adults.
Same social
You
level.
and your parents, and like, I know, like when I go to family gatherings, things like that, everyone there's having fun.
Yes, like
regardless of who's
right. My parents and grandparents have equal amounts of fun and arguably drink equal amounts of alcohol, which I think is the best signifier of that level of society, if you will. And it's because, in the same way, my mother was raised by a very regimented woman, but now they're friends in many ways. She obviously, there's a position of authority to some degree instituted by society, which is a whole discussion on itself, about should we respect elders. But at that point, while they're still learning from each other to some degree, it's more about sharing the time together.
Yes.
And that authority is most important in the formative years of teenagerhood. Adolescence.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, so now that we've said that kids listen to your parents.
Yes. Generally.
Unless you're starting a podcast, then disobey them.
Okay. I was really excited about that.
I really
So,
I
what
really
did-
like that. Thank you.
I mean, obviously we've done the. Have we talked about the therapy thing?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out much of our discussions about the Maslow's needs are about you, and in combination with the dating and the beginning of this discussion have been largely you and one person or a small group
Yeah.
providing the same thing. I find it interesting that you finally point out, which I hadn't even considered, the fact it can come from multiple places. That you can receive authority and safety from different places, and different forms of belonging from other people.
I think it was clear by the triangle that I said it can come from multiple places. I don't think it should, because that shallows every single individual relationship you have.
Yes. Down to the bare necessity that it provides.
Like, think about if you are getting cognitive needs from your spouse, but the other kind of need from from an affair.
Exactly. Yes, it's exactly the case. Because I mean, an example of this, our friend group we have, I think I get my strongest level of belonging from our band program that we're in, and that friend group. But I feel the closest cognitive needs with you and a couple of those individuals. And it would seem as that group has grown together, that cognitive need has increased in many ways, which is a good example of that, how initially we began with individual pieces until they grew together in collaboration. They used to yell at us when we'd start doing a podcast in front of them. Unintentional, impromptu.
They don't anymore? They
still do.
Yeah.
Except now we know what we're talking about, or at least pretend we do.
Occasionally someone else will be.
We also use a lot of charts now, which I like.
They're like, yeah.
Should we make a T-shirt of charts?
What
we need to have like a staple symbol that we use, like not the logo. I know saw you look at it. We need to have like a staple symbol that we use in a lot of our discussions, but I feel like that has to be an inactive discovery.
I wish we had these made out before the podcast so I could put them on the screen.
Sorry.
Like, I can't imagine what watching one of these must be like and how hard it is to follow.
You're the one who does these lives.
Well, I don't want to do editing. I don't have time for editing, do you?
No. I'm too busy reading the books you tell me to read.
How far are we in?
An hour?
About an hour.
Because, we don't start on time. We never do, because we get distracted by your cat.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, where is he? Avoiding us, presumably.
Probably.
Alright, what are you looking at?
Okay, that has nothing to do with... I know I sent you something earlier, I just don't remember if it had anything to do with this.
We will talk about that.
Okay.
Yes.
Just not on.
Okay, do you have any further thoughts or adaptations to our triangle here? I think that's something we'll privately discuss more and expand upon.
Yeah, because that came to me during this.
I think that could be really fun to discuss.
Stuff like that has always bothered me, but I couldn't put it into a picture until now.
It took me to draw the triangle?
Yeah.
I'm so glad I passed first grade. I still don't know what an octahedron is, though.
You know what a pentagonal dodecahedron is.
I do! Mr. Pent.
Alright, I think...
Before we get more slapstick.
I think an hour is good enough for today. Well, thank you to everyone that joined us.
Thank you for suffering through.
Yeah, that was quite the difficult one to follow.
There's some really good parts of it, but the vast majority of it is us rolling around trying to figure out what we're doing. And then promptly getting off task.
Alright. That's all from us today, folks.
Remember, if you want to support us, go check out the new merch. There's a link in the description. Hopefully Luke put it in right this time. We have the new Season 2 merch. It's just as comfortable and just as great. That's yeah.
Yeah. And please subscribe. From our analytics, I've noticed that only 10% of viewers are no, just kidding.
My name's Andrew. We're gonna stop now before he does that.
My name is Luke.
You know, there's a bug going around. Okay. My name's Andrew.
I still haven't stopped it.
Oh, waffles.
Andrew's dying now. I went to Waffle House yesterday.
End the stream. Gosh.
My name is Luke.
My name is Andrew.
And thank you for tuning in to the Two Existential Dudes podcast. See you in a few.